Hi, folks. That was probably the most animated wave ever, right? You ever seen somebody ride by you in the car? You're like, what? I feel like I just did. I just feel like I just did that. Sorry, people. Hey, girl. Hey. Listen, welcome back to See, here's the thing. I am Kimberly Smith-Tiller, the purpose catalyst, and I help women embrace their God-given identity, discover their purpose, transform pain into power, and activate their zone of genius. So they start creating multiple streams of income. Multiple. So as you know, I have with me my sisters, my homies, my girls, Miss Nikkita Jervey, the Peace Princess, and Miss Revy Rev TaRae D Peoples is in the building. Hey. Y'all want to say hey to the peeps?
Hey, people.
Hey, Pam. How we doing?
I mean, hey, that was dry, Kita. Hey, sorry. This is dry. I would not want no parts of that hay. So if you saw the post earlier today, we are talking about trust. So as you're coming in, make sure you tell us where you're coming in from so we can see your comments. Give us a hey girl, hey, and then share with your girls, because you know this is girl talk. So here's the thing, is all about making sure women have transparent communications. And yes, it is on an open Facebook, but we're still talking transparently, right?
Yes.
I mean, I don't care. Y'all care? Okay.
No.
All right, because I was hoping y'all would.
Not at all.
Okay, so we're talking about trust. Y'all, I had a simple question this week. It was a very simple question. It was very calm, but it freaked me out. Right, it's a lean in moment. And the question was, will you trust me?
Do I know you?
Facts.
Since it was the Lord, yeah. And I was like,
Kind of makes a difference.
I could give it some context, right?
You should. That's a big difference.
But we're going to talk about all the differences. Will you trust me? And I was like, yeah. I mean, heretofore, try. And there wasn't like a repeat. It was just like, you know, will you trust me? Like, are we going to do this or what? And I was kind of like, almost like, dog, what have you been doing with your life? And not that you haven't necessarily trusted, but are you ready for the next trust level? You know what I'm saying? And that's a big, big thing, especially when it's trusting in the unknown.
Right.
But it's always big. Like, I never know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how you fit to do it. You know, got a little prophecy here, studied that word, ready for it. And then I started looking it up, right? And then I just was like, ooh. I kind of thought that I was going to throw up a couple of times. And I was like, what is fitting to happen here and now? Because usually that question comes before there's this either door wide open or this thing that you're about to experience. And I was like, God, I felt like my stomach just fell. And so I wanted to, it's a lot of falling. I wanted to talk about it this week because I wasn't even, here's the thing. I was asking God, what do you want me to say to your women, meaning the women on my email list, because I don't take the fact that I even have space in their inboxes, you know, just like, well, I should, hello. I don't feel that way. I feel like if you opt in with me, I'm supposed to give you something. You know what I'm saying? So if you're on my list, I need to be giving you what God tells me to give you. And I was, just like, so Jesus, what is we talking about this week? Huh? What we talking about? And I'm waiting because, I'm thinking I'm going to talk about, how we going to get to this one stream and multiply it. And, the spirit of multiplication and how it's just not for disciple making, but it's also for prosperity. I'm thinking of it this way, right? And I'm about to give some tips. I was like, oh, let me drop a tool in. Yes. No, I got to, will you trust me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't want to write this email.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to write this. I don't want to write this email. And so I was a little stunned, and then I took it personally because I felt attacked. Like, is you trying to come for me in my trust level, sir? Like, what is?
But it can though.
What's really going on? Like, what you trying to say though? What you trying to say?
But it can.
And then I had a flashback. Y'all ever, hear God and be like, and then you have this flashback of something like from your past that immediately goes to exactly what he was saying. My grandmother, I grew up in an apostolic church, so I grew up mad religious, right? Very strict. You wouldn't be able to tell. Very strict, very could not do. None of this could not do, right? And I'm like, okay. And I immediately heard my grandmother's voice. And during offering, they used to repeat a certain scripture, right? Had a song and everything. They break the song down. All you'd hear was the instrumentation. And then they would read this in the King James Version. So it would scare the mess out of you to give your seed. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. They are brought down and falling, but we are risen and stand upright. Save, Lord, because in that apostolic, it had to be real deep. Save, Lord. That's when we go. And I said, why? I don't even have a chariot. We'll even have a horse. So I crafted the email and I'm typing and I'm furiously typing. And I started thinking about all the things, the people, places, and things that I have trusted in. And none of them have been heretofore as faithful as the good Father. You know what I'm saying? And that was the premise of tonight is trust. And we talk about how we give it and then people break it and then we or how we don't give it because we have walls and not boundaries. But then how we have to build it and how we take those same issues in our relationship to God and are just like, yeah, I'm a trust you. Yeah, trust you. Only with the T and the R, not the rest of it.
Not with the us.
Not with the us. It ain't us. I'm a
yeah.
The U.S. is silent. There's no us. So I wanted to talk about that tonight, and I wanted y'all's input on what that looks like when it comes down to trusting. And even because we have to live in community, and we have to trust those people that we decide to have covenant relationships with.
Yeah.
We trust our leaders even after there's been a break. We have to trust that, this is who God called us to. We got to trust him for direction, even when we don't know what direction we're going in. So what does that look like when, one, you're going somewhere which is unknown? Two, when you're coming back from a respite, with both of you have said, this is what you've done. And three, how do we trust those that we have covenant with so that we can be better, live better, and do better? So that's the premise of our conversation on tonight. So shout out to those of you joining us. Thank you for joining us. Let's kick it off. So what does trust look like for you?
Y'all
yeah.
Trust what it looks like for me. Okay, so I have not thought about that, but in this season of my life, trust, especially concerning the Father, looks like saying yes even when I don't understand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Saying yes when I don't understand. Being obedient and not fully knowing what's on the other side of that yes. So when the Lord told me in March of last year that it was time for me to let praise and worship go, um, I didn't understand. I didn't, because I finally felt like I had gotten to a place in leading praise and worship where I was comfortable in understanding what my position was, and I had finally found this flow, and I was like, okay, all right, this is what you want me to do. Okay, now, okay, now I can really do it, right? And then he says it's time to let it go. Doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. And then when he says let it go, he's not telling you what's on the other side of letting it go. What do you want me to do next? And that was my prayer. Okay, God, what's next? Okay, what do you want me to do now? Okay, Lord, what is it? What's happening? Okay, God, what's happening? And he wasn't clear. He didn't say anything else. But I knew I heard him to say let it go, and I knew I had to be immediately obedient, because I would have stayed. I would have stayed in that position. I was perfectly fine and comfortable there because it's what I had done every Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday for 16 years.
Wow.
That's what I had done. Okay. And I was perfectly fine doing that. But he said, you got to let it go. Okay. But at least if I'm going to let it go, can you please tell me what is next? And he said nothing. So, of course, with my having my nonprofit, it gave me more time to do my nonprofit. But here's the thing. Is that the why he told me to let it go? He still hasn't said, he still has not told me definitively to say the reason why I told you to let it go was so you can focus on this. That's still not the why. Okay. What I believe is what is unfolding is he needed to do additional work in me to help advance me to where my next is. That work couldn't have been done constantly giving out, because I wouldn't have anything to retain because I'm giving out. So there was a trusting God meant I had to trust him with letting go of something that I loved, as well as trusting him with the development that he was taking me through in this season. And really still trusting for my next.
I mean, that's just trust in so many different ways. Trusting for me to be transformed, trusting him to show what's next, trusting that, okay, I'm giving this up, and you said, what's next has to be better, right?
And
still have no clue.
Still don't, because then I go back to prophetic words. Okay. So I shared last week about all of the words that I received about how God, it was speaking to my purpose. And I wouldn't have never been able to focus on building and growing into that purpose had I still been in that same position. So I do know that a portion of why I had to step down was for that development. I still don't know what the exact next is, but I can't accept that part now. Now I'm not just walking around in tears as I was for a very long time. And I kept telling my husband, babe, I just don't understand. I don't understand. I just don't understand why. Because it was painful to walk into the sanctuary and not get on the platform. Let's be honest. Because when I'm a 4th generation praise and worship leader, and so doing that, it's very much a part of who I am. And so it was painful to go to church and not be able to get up there. And I felt very much displaced, not really knowing how to function and how to flow in that. But my husband said, TaRae, you trust in the Lord with all your heart and you lean not on your own understanding.
Right.
And it was just taking that scripture and just reminding myself that I'm trusting in the Lord. I'm not trusting in an ability. I'm not trusting in anything that I'm doing. I'm trusting in the Father, the one that's the creator of everything, the one who holds me every day. So I had to come to that understanding that even when I don't understand, he's still doing something. And I have to trust him in that.
That's a lot. So, Kita, talk to us about how you trusted in your new.
So I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come to that. Right.
Come to
So,
that.
so when I saw that we were going to talk about trust, I had to look it up, right? And I looked up the definition and a couple things, and it's so crazy. Okay, I'm gonna just say the definition: firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something, right? So obviously, we're talking about trusting God and or other people, right? So today, I ain't even know it because it wasn't on my calendar, and that's how I run my life. That my husband and I had a scheduled meeting, Zoom meeting with our estate planning attorney to discuss our trust, right? And right. And so one of the things that he said that stood out to me was number one, a trust is a balance between protection and control. Yeah, all of the things. And then he said, when you're choosing someone to to have control or be a trustee for you, if you don't trust them, then they're probably not a good fit, right? And so when you're talking about like trusting other people and trusting God, it's like, especially with other people, because obviously God is trustable, but with other people, if something in your knower says no, then you might not want to do it, but one of the things that I've learned is that God can be trusted, and which is why he reiterates throughout his word to trust him, because he is credible and he is capable to come through. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, all of those things.
It is so true. Like, one of the things that I constantly have to remind myself is, dog, his track record is masterful. If we could only have half of that. It is meticulous.
Yes.
He's never lost. He's never been taken aback. He's never been surprised. He's always been reliable. He's always been credible, even to the point of the introduction. He's always been credible.
Yeah.
He's always been faithful. Like, the track record is just magnificent, right? So what is there not to trust? TaRae, what do you think are some of the obstacles that keep your eyes though that attempt to thwart our trusting factor from being intensified?
Because we know us. So
trash.
I think we read the stories, right? And I don't like calling them Bible stories because they're not made up. They're real biblical accounts, right? So we read the Bible, we see these things that happen to real life people, all right? And even though we know that, it's like, God is good. He came through for them.
Right.
Okay. Because we know us, we know our shortcomings, we know all of our faults, and we know all of our flaws. But listen, they had them too. So I have to constantly remember that God is not looking for a perfect individual to pull out of their mess or to step out into greatness. He's just looking for an available and willing vessel. Okay. And so I just keep myself in a position of saying, okay, Lord. And it's an ongoing process. I don't think anybody ever gets to a stage where they're just like completely, okay, God, let's go. Like, whatever. I don't think anybody ever gets to a place where it wouldn't be great to do that, but I don't think anybody ever gets there. And I believe that's one of the greatest obstacles to overcome, is because, God, I know my stuff. I know my junk. But here's the greater thing. He knows it better than you do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So even the things that we don't count as bad, that really are bad, God says, I still see those things, and I'm still willing to use you in spite of those things. So just getting to a place of constantly dying to yourself, and dying to yourself looks different in a lot of, it has many facets to it, right? So we talk about dying to self when it comes to being nice to people. Talk about dying to yourself when in your marriage, but then also dying to yourself and trusting God that yes, I can still use you, that there's something in you that I want to get through you for somebody else. So just, I think that's the main obstacle. That's the number one, just getting over yourself. Yeah.
That is true. And Keita, I'm going to ask you this. How do you get to the place without just like, okay, whatever, I'll just do it. Okay, I'm doing it. How do you get to that place of surrender, unyielding trust? Just, whew,
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Walk us through the baby steps. Walk us through the baby steps.
Baby steps.
Right, like mummy walk.
So what's the first step? If you're here, you're at point A and your trust level increasing is at point B, what are the realizations or the mind shift you have to do?
I believe that the first thing, because you're somewhere in there, you would want to go to the word, right? But before that, I think that you would want to look over your life, your own situations, your own circumstances where he's already proven himself to be trustworthy. So I would say that would be the first step, and then follow that up with the words that back that up, that like, okay, trust me with all your heart, and the sorrows of the wicked don't trust God, and love will surround those that do trust him. And so it's just like, I noticed that in my life. Like when I did trust him, some things went right. You know what I'm saying? And then just building upon that and confessing that in and over your life.
Yeah. So let me tell you what I did after the question. And I was like, yeah. I realized that even after I said it, and after I started meditating on the reason why I was giving a yes, and then went and did some more research biblically and, back to prophetic words and things around the yes, about 3 hours later, it was almost like, but are you really going to do it? And I was like, yeah, like a resounding yes. And then the next morning, it became a part of my prayer. It was a part of, like, I remember even internally rehearsing like this. Yeah, I'm in. I'm gonna do this. I mean, listen, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
So I began to rehearse the fact that, yeah, I'm fitting to trust you all the way through this. It's looking crazy already. How much crazier could it look?
Right.
So there's an absolute yes. So I know one from me, and I know we talked about this last week, was every day is a surrender. Every day is a fresh yes. Because sometimes, you might have given a no around 9 p.m. Well, you got to, follow that thing up. So every day I know for me is a fresh yes. So every day it is it's one of those things where not only is it a yes, but it's an I'll trust you. Where you going, I'll trust you. What you tell me to do, I'll trust you. You want me to pivot, I'll trust you in that. You want me to shift, I'll trust you in that. You want me to move from here and go there, I'll trust you in that. But knowing that there is not anything that he's ever asked of me that he did not ever give me better for.
Yeah.
His provision has always been magnificent, even when it meant development. Like providing for my maturation was even crazy. It was phenomenal at best. So there has to be a trust in going through all of that. And I was just like, still, even with some trepidation. Yeah, okay. I'll trust you through that. Because I've trusted less.
Right. Right.
I've trusted less and gotten less for the trust, and then added some more trust and still received less. You know what I'm saying? And those aren't even, we're comparing apples and oranges. And I feel like sometimes when it comes to the way that we handle God, we handle him from a perspective of my experience with this person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
has changed my perspective of how I handle my God. And that's not
Absolutely.
ever how it should be, because he didn't tell us to trust all these people that we trusted.
Right.
Hello,
We
somebody.
didn't have to be in covenant with all these people we was in covenant with. You know what I'm saying? But we
Right.
opted in. So I started thinking of it even from a business perspective, you know, like a lot, like right now, these ads is running, right? You know, they run it. Get your free this, grab this for 27, grab this for 37,
Yes.
get this
Yes.
for 47. Hey, come get my masterclass because I'm teaching. Every time you drop an email address or every time you drop a debit card, you're trusting them to deliver on some goods that are going to benefit you.
Right.
Right. And I was like, I have spent money for stuff that didn't yield not nothing. I can't even call it seed. It was wasteful.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
It was wasteful. I
Yes.
ain't got a wooden nickel to show for it.
Yes.
Ain't got nothing. Ain't got no receipts except for the one where it shows that I spent my money. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not nothing. So when I think about the level of trust that I've given them, then I start thinking about, I don't trust it. I don't even know this person. Why did I spend this?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't even know you. And then we trust people that we're getting to know. We trust that it'll be an investment into something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I started dating like mad late in life. I mean mad late. Like 33, 35 late. Like 32 late. Like just late, right? But I remember trusting some things that
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
You know how you go into it thinking this could be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just okay. It could be okay. I mean, you know, we'll see where it goes. Lackluster, piss poor. I'll see where it goes. But you trust that you're doing something that will yield something in the long run, long term. You know what I mean? I don't understand why it's so difficult to have that same level of, even if it's curious trust, investment trust. You know what I mean? Like there has to be a different level of trust that we are moving with when it comes to this season, because this is a very different season. It's a very different time. And there are things blossoming and then there are things moving around and shifting and things, there's a halt to some things as well. So I want to make sure that when we talk about trust, we talk about from the aspect of we have to, wholly trust God. But then let's talk about our covenant partners. What prompted you, the people that are in your squad, hashtag squad goals, the people that are in your squad, what prompted you to trust them? And had you had bad experiences before you trusted your squad?
So,
face though.
So first, I believe that this pandemic is multifaceted, but this is one of the things that God is doing to and for his people, resetting our trust for him, and then identifying, if we didn't know before, who is truly in our squad, who really can be trusted to hold us down, all of this stuff. And so I'm, obviously I don't want the virus to be out here because I want to be able to hug my people, but I'm grateful, you know what I'm saying, for the revelation that he's given us during this time, for, like we discussed last week, for the shift. Yeah. But as far as my squad and them being trusted, again, looking at their track record, looking at how they have prayed me through, they have, checked in on me and my family, and even in the, meantime, between time, they never faltered, you know what I'm saying? And they were always ones that were uplifting, never talking bad about me or my kids or my husband, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like love, you know what I'm saying? They are like the epitome of, God on earth, to us. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like showing love, demonstrating the love of God to us on a consistent basis.
Right.
And so they proven that they are trustworthy and they are truly family.
Mm-hmm.
TaRae, what about you? Have you ever had to come back from a square goal break? Your hedge was burned? Wanted to bust somebody down to the white meat?
Yeah, pretty much. There was a season in my life where it was solely just me, my husband, our kids. Like,
Wow.
and that's it. Um, because of that very thing. Um, and a lot of it was, naivete on my part, because everyone cannot handle your broken moments. Everyone can't handle your weak moments, and so it was naive on my part to share those moments with those, just because I felt like we were close and I felt like,
Right.
that I could share those things. I was naive. Everybody can't handle that, right? So there was a period of time where it was just solely me, my husband, and our children, and it was very necessary. My mother used to say, "TaRae, you got too many people in your house," and I'd be like, "Mom, what you talking about?" And she was like, "TaRae, you got too many people in your house." And it wasn't until several years later, and after this big falafel of a situation happened, I was just like, that's what she was talking about. I had too many people in my house. And so now
I'm talking about the kids. You was going to put the kids out?
Listen, I was about to put everybody. Which one you want? Okay, for a pick. All right, I'm selling everybody for 50 cents. But
Boxing them out like a lottery number.
Like a dispenser. Here you go. Here you go. But I had to really take account, because a lot of it was just, we can go all the way back to my childhood. I never fit in, period. Okay. I was never the one to fit in. And I was severely bullied from the 3rd grade to the 11th, to the 10th, through the 10th grade. And it was it was very traumatic. I would come home crying. I had anxiety about going to class. I would have headaches, and I had to pretend like everything was okay all the time. And after a while, it just got tiring. And so, I always had like a kind of a group of people that I hung with, but it wasn't like solid. You know what I mean? It wasn't ever really solid. So when I started this journey, I started my journey back in my early 20s of really discovering who I was in God, and wanting to really go after him and wanting everything that his word said that I could have. I was getting escorted out of friends' houses because I was talking about Jesus, and they didn't want to know.
Wow.
I was being oh honey, yeah.
Wow.
They said, TaRae, we love you, but don't
It was all
us with Jesus.
I'm sitting down. I'll never forget it. I was pregnant with my second daughter. I will never forget this. I was sitting down on their couch, and the house is filling up with people or whatever, and we're in conversation. And at this time, I'm so excited about Jesus. Everything I'm talking about, I'm just like, Jesus is this and Jesus is great. But what I'm not realizing is that they pulling out the beer bottles. They ready to get it in, and I am. I'm sitting there, and the hostess goes, TaRae, isn't your husband at home? I want you to be at home. And I'm like, okay, I'm just like, okay, he's fine. He knows where I'm at, and I'm just continuing in the conversation. Long story short, it was like, girl, you pregnant, you tired, you should probably get home. And then they're gathering up my things and us leading me to the door. Yes.
You were messing up the turn up.
You're messing it up. And so I vividly remember that. I was like, okay. I said, okay. But then in that moment, I knew that I was traveling down a different road. And it was going to take some time for me to actually develop a connection with individuals, okay, that was going to really be able to support my vision and what God was really, and the call of God that's on my life. Being that I have an apostolic prophetic anointing over my life, we are misunderstood a lot. We are misrepresented a lot. There are things that people don't understand about us a lot. We think and process information differently. And so it was very hard. It is hard, still hard, to find people who really rightly understand and can really help support you in that. So what I will say is my number one supporter from day one has been my husband. And he is the one that I lean on the absolute most for all through all of it. He sees all of my tears. He sees all of my frustration. I'm just like, babe, it's so lonely. And he was just like, but you understand, it's a part of the call. And I'll never forget. This is why he's my forever supporter. I remember years ago when we were freshly married. We hadn't been married that long, and I asked him. I was like, "Babe, so what are your dreams? What are your dreams, and what is it? What do you really want to do?" And I'm all excited because I got all of these fresh, and astronomical dreams or whatever. And he looked at me. He said, "Babe, my dream is to make your dream come true." And and he has done that. He has done that. He is not afraid. I'm not gonna cry. He is not afraid to let me shine. He's not afraid to be the one to push me. He's not afraid to be the one that has to do all of the logistic work in the background. He's not afraid to be that for me. And I'm forever grateful for that. And so if I never had anybody else in my corner, I still have him. And that's okay. That's okay. And God has blessed me with people. My sisters are two individuals that have prayed for me, that have contributed to that. And you don't need a whole lot of people.
Right. Yeah. You just need the right ones.
You need the right ones. Exactly. Yeah. And whether it's direct or indirect support, you just have to know that it's there. You know what I mean? You just have to know that it's there. And so I've definitely had to get rid of a whole slew of people. When I say a whole slew, I mean a whole slew. Uh-huh. And you have to be okay with that. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it just being just nice and small. And that's okay.
Listen, tight and right is always good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tight and right is always the way to go.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yeah.
It's biblical.
Yep. I'm gonna look for the tight and right scripture. I'm gonna look.
I mean, it might be narrow is the road. It's tight.
Okay.
Narrow is tight. Everybody can fit
it. It's tight. Okay. All right.
See, come on. Don't worry about my synonyms. My thesaurus is right.
I'm gonna look.
So as we end, if you could give one tip on the trust factor and what that looks like, what would you say to the people? Kita, you want to go? Nikkita, you want to go? Peace, princess. Give us this good.
That's right. Come on, peace, princess. Princess of peace.
You said one tip. Let's see. I think that, and I actually posted it earlier today. That as you trust God, as you lean more on him and understand that he is reliable and he is going to come through and all those things, and you just really gather an understanding of really trusting him and what trust looks like biblically and practically, it translate in your life as peace. It translate into peace, because when you have someone like your husband that you can call on at the end of the day for anything, it gives you a sense of, I'm good because they got my back. You know what I'm saying? So I think that would be my pointer, that like understanding the correlation between trusting God and the level of peace in your life.
I like that. I like that. That's good. That's good. TaRae.
Yes.
Do people really call you that?
They do. They do. They do. I get called everything. I get called TaRae. I get called Trey. My dad calls me Ray Ray. Like, it's just.
I like Ray Ray though. Ray Ray's cute. Okay.
That's my daddy.
Okay. That's sweet. One tip. What would you say trust should look like?
Trust looks like getting out of your own way.
I wouldn't really.
Yes.
It really does. Trust looks like getting out of your own way.
So people say that a lot. Talk about what that means, getting out of your own way. Because I mean, we could equate that to self-sabotage. Well, what is that? Tell the people, because I don't want no excuses when they say, "Yeah, my own way." What is that?
Yes. Okay. So when we're getting out of our own way, it means we are going to stop being the hindrance for us, for our own momentum, for our own movement. Okay. So, case in point today, God blessed my organization. I have a permanent volunteer. Okay. She said, I'm going to be there whenever the office is open, whatever events that you're having, I'm going to be there, as if she was an employee of the Rose
I
House.
love
Right.
it.
So, today, I had a meeting where generally our office, our distribution center, should I say, our distribution center is open just for a couple of hours, 1 to 3 p.m. But I had a 2:15 meeting that I needed to go to. Now, here is me getting out of my own way. I trusted her to close out the rest of the day. I trusted her to know how to put everything away, to clean up everything, to make sure it was locked up, and to end it for the day. I won't be back there until a week and a half from now, because next week we have fireworks tent that we have to ban, right? But um, getting out of my own way meant TaRae accept the meeting, because you need to, and it was a wonderful meeting. It was talking about some racial diversity issues that we're having within the church. So it was necessary for me to be a part of that meeting. However, had I not gotten out of my own way, I would have been sitting in the distribution center with a volunteer, missing a conversation that I needed to have.
Right.
And it would have stopped the momentum of what it was that God is trying to do within my own life. Okay. In the realm, check this out, in the realm of praise and worship. Okay. So where I was saying, God, why are you doing this? Why are you taking me away from what I love? If I hadn't gotten out of my own way, I wouldn't have been able to open up an avenue for what I love to do, right? By trying to hold on to the advance, or to the lack of advancement that God was trying to do with me in the Rose House, if that makes sense. So that's what getting out of your own way looks like. And that's what trust looks like. It's getting out of your own way.
I like that. I absolutely love that. People say it, but it's one thing to say, listen, you are your own obstacle. Stop it.
That's right.
Shift your mind. Stop
That's
being your own hindrance. I think if we had to close with the one tip, one of the things that I see so very often when I talk to clients or when we're kind of walking through purpose is trusting that God made you to be an intricate part in the world. Trusting God that what's in you is something that somebody else needs. And it
Yes.
isn't always somebody in your family.
Yes.
And it could be in your community and you don't even know this person exists, but the fear of thinking that you're not as integral as someone else because of what you see them do means that you don't trust the God that gave you the purpose in the first place.
Yeah.
You don't trust the God who orchestrated your entire existence and then placed you in a place where it could be shown off so that people stop having pain and start having resolution. There's a trust to that. And not to mention when we start talking about it being exhibited in the earth, trusting him to know the times, the people, and the places where it should be exhibited is a big thing. Because just because you can does not mean you should.
Right.
It is a trust, and there are directives with this purpose. And then trusting God to give you directions on how to handle that purpose. Like you just can't be out here willy-nilly doing every little thing. You know what I mean? Oh, looks good. Let me do that. That's not how that works. So I think if there was anything that I would culminate with the tips would be trusting that God it has you exactly where he wants you to start being the solution and start being instead of admiring. You know,
Yes. Come on.
I want people to start being like if there's never been a time before, now is the time to be. Like you don't even have to sit on the silence. And I'm not saying you gotta run off your job.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying you got to start kicking off live series. You ain't got to do that.
Yeah.
But be who he called you to be, how he called you to be it.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like everybody else.
Right.
Trust that he made you to be unique and
Right.
live in that uniqueness and show off that uniqueness, because it's probably something we've been looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's probably the answer to a lot of people's situations. I really don't know how to do, and then here you pop up with all the answers. Be that.
Yeah.
Trust that he's made you to be that.
Yeah.
And stop with the admiring and pretending and trying to be all them other people. You don't have to be. We just want you to trust him to be you.
Right.
And do it well. Show off. Show off. Okay?
Yeah.
Show off.
Yeah.
So people where they can find you, because Rose House is popular.
Yes, so you can always find me on Facebook at TaRae D Peoples on Facebook, but then you can also find the Rose House on Facebook as well as the Rose House Inc., the Rose House INC on Facebook. So we have awesome things that are going on right now. We're still handing out free diapers, diaper wipes, and infant formula during COVID. We have given out over 14,000 diapers and over 100 cans of infant formula to single mothers in the community. God is good. We are currently taking for grocery gift cards. We have to do interviews for those, but we're just believing that God is going to continue to bless us in a way that we can continue to directly impact our community. Also, I have a mentorship masterclass, another session that's going to be starting August the 3rd. It's a Monday night at 8 p.m. In our mentorship Facebook group. So if you're interested in mentorship, being empowered, being strengthened, help you get to that next place in life, then this is the mentorship class for you. So go to the website, go to the rosehousinc.org, click on the mentorship tab in the upper right hand corner, and go ahead and get registered today.
Listen, I love mentorship if it means it's going to actually be transformational and not a scam artist trick.
No, there's going to be definitely results.
Trust God, but you ain't got to be a scammer. How about that?
God. Right.
You ain't got to be a scammer.
You don't have to be a scammer.
You ain't got to be a scammer. See? You can just be a part of the journey. You don't have to be a scammer.
That's part of the journey. Listen.
Hello.
You're part of the journey.
That's all I'm saying.
Walk down that road.
Listen, what's with the Peace Princess? Because let me tell you what happened. I was looking at something on Facebook, and all of a sudden the Peace Princess popped up. I was like, honey.
What up? Okay, so you can follow me at Kita's Peace everywhere. On Facebook and Instagram mainly. So Kita's Peace everywhere. Follow me there.
Yeah. She said, follow me there.
Follow me there, okay? Let me get you right and walk in this peace. All right, people, listen. I have dropped a link in the description for tonight because here's what I think matters every day, all day, is if you don't know your purpose, or maybe you kind of know it, don't really have a language for it, there is a link. It's a beautiful little link too. And it's going to take you to a quiz to help you discover your purpose. Yes. Immediately after, check your email because you're going to get a guide to help you walk in your purpose. It is going to come with steps. It is going to come with some tools and resources you need. It is even going to come with a digital download of a song. Get on up on, boom, get on up on this quiz. Figure out what your purpose is. And listen, friends don't let friends live without purpose. Come on. Okay. So share it with your homegirl, because if y'all really in covenant, y'all should be in covenant together in purpose. Without competition. So, because that's what covenant looks like. You know, we push. We don't shove. So with that being said, thank you for joining us tonight on So Here's the Thing. I'm Kimberly. I am the Purpose Catalyst, and I help women embrace their God-given identity and discover their purpose, transform pain to power, and get them coins. We'll see you next Thursday, peeps. Bye.
Bye.